Ni hao, bonjour to the online world. So, we are going to discuss about trademarking stuff, particularly from the viewpoint of the classification of the trademarking, perhaps to understand the landscape better, and that can be utilized for understanding the merchandising aspect because right now loads of individuals, enterprises, groups, um, they're launching a lot of stuff in the market, and cluttering the market itself is not going to solve the problem because even if the market share or the pie of the market is big enough, however, because of the um, number of products or SKUs in terms of whatever is available. Like for the very simple word, I would say items. Um, the items which are available right now, it needs to be understood from the landscape of trademarking, which is important, and we'll be touch basing on that. I just wish to retrieve few of the data sets I thought about would be a good discussion. If you have any questions, you can put your questions in the comment box and I'll try and answer that. I'm putting myself on mute and then we'll take things from there. Okay, in this particular case today, the international database is under maintenance. So I'm not able to procure the right numbers of the trademarking stuff. So I'll just talk in general to understand the merchandising point of view and why brand itself can be utilized in different manner, and particularly for the merchandising stuff, because that creates a customer centric understanding from the point of view to create a persona which itself has a value, and that value proposition is you cannot put a value to the intellect in terms of licensing fees and stuff. We are in a new world order, and in very simple words, the easiest way to understand the current landscape would be to take a fixed fee and perhaps get into the licensing where it can be per piece till the time the company is able to recoup whatever they have invested plus a percentage. A good percentage, what I feel today is, after seeing the global landscape of how things are working out, and particularly from the point of view of merchandising, because merchandising would generally be focusing on school children, college going, because they are the candidates who can actually fight with their parents to get things done. And that is where there's market right now in terms of channelizing the merchandising aspect, because schooling itself, whether self-schooled or going to a proper school or going to these IBs and stuff, the placement of the merchandising is going to play a very pivotal role, and particularly from the standpoint view of upskilling. So how brands are able to nurture that. So I'll give you an example. uh, in India, there's a two of the main brands during the school days. It did a lot of activities at the school level. That was Camel. Camel was all to do with paints and stuff, organized load. That is how, they even give some coupons. I don't know, they introduced those coupons in those days, because I was brand ambassador for egurukul.com, and that was a time where US meltdown had happened in terms of the bubble burst, and at the same point of time, handful of I would say handful out of uh, I haven't checked the population status. I'm assuming 1 billion at that point of time, or less than 1 billion in the year. I don't want to talk about that year, but simple words would be to understand that the education sector at any given point of time, so education sector, the health sector, these are the two pillars which are important for the country to grow in terms of uh, using the pillars to drive market. And particularly from the standpoint, we have been getting a lot of questions in terms of uh, what kind of health data parameters can be shared and what should not be shared. And perhaps I have been given the opportunity right now where I have, of course, I'm CSO of Longevity in Time Biotech, uh, which is a very big project, and the mission is too big for normal folks to understand. But at the same point of time, what is important here is longevity can be achieved, and longevity is not based on one particular parameter. The most important parameters which I am seeing, and because I'm also one of the candidates of that, is the environmental factor, and second is the historical data set. Given this understanding, whatever the laws of physics were utilized at some point of time, if you go back 100 years back or maybe 80 years back, that is not applicable today, because the factors have changed. And since environmental factors have changed, everything around it, say for example, there is a vehicle or there's a carriage, like in patenting world, You will see loads of application where the word carriage is utilized because of the change of environmental factors, um, the efficiency, the horsepower, and the other parameters perhaps. That is never going to give you the same result. And the need of the hour is to understand this shift and ride on that shift rather than waiting for the shift to happen and then get yourself accustomed with the same. So I'll give you a few of the examples where I'm getting DMs where they're asking me to share my report, which is blood report and other stuff, because of the unique genomic landscape I have. Uh, I give a very simple answer. Where's the pie? Where's my pie? When I say where's my pie, that means where is my share? Because when we talk about miracle drugs in the pharma sector is nothing but you are taking different samples, whether it's the DNA, whether it's swapping and whatnot. Swap is basically taking the liquid because it also has DNA. DNA is everywhere, perhaps, if we get into the biochemistry understanding of the landscape. However, the point of contention here is if you take the sample of the candidate at different intervals and with the proper consent and with other factors, you might be able to develop the miracle drug. Now, the point of contention here is when, not if, because I'm part of the longevity and perhaps part of the project is to develop, and we have already the base is ready, whereby in Maldives itself um, we are having these healthcare centers, and the islands have been identified, everything has been done because this project is very big, and this is under the guidance of Oleg Tetrin. He's the producer of the movie Chef. That being said, so you can understand whatever we had actually watched over the years as sci-fi, that reality is very real. But the point of contention here is when you are a candidate for the same and you understand, because I was very good in wet lab research, but it's just that I knew that wet lab is not going to sustain my understanding of what I wish to do in this lifetime. And that was the reason I switched over to dry lab. So dry lab is basically, you code in the online world and you can get things done in a fast, speedy manner. So in this particular case, the miracle drug, when not if, is developed from a particular candidate, what is that candidate getting in return of that? So that is the understanding folks need to understand. When you are sharing your blood reports, you are getting your weekly or monthly checkups, so the data is being sold off. Because the data is being sold off, you have no control over the parameters. And in many cases, because there is so much money pumped in research, there is some kind of ailment on a daily basis which is being developed and being forwarded in the name of that, this and this happens, this there's gene disposition, this is happening, this there is gene cleasing, this is happening because of this. So the very simple submission here is, if I just talk about India right now, because obviously merchandising is one aspect, but on the reality aspect, the number of doctors, good doctors who have got into the medical domain, the amount of money the government of India is spending on them, and once they're done, they leave the country. So they're not serving the country, perhaps. But if you look into the protocols of Singapore, somehow they have made it mandatory that you have to serve the country for these many years, and then only you can go wherever you wish to. Entropy is always increasing, and it has come to a point where, last 24 hours, you just pick up the top 100 news, and these, because of the chaos, everything has become like a Lego set. So the point of contention here is, apart from the merchandising part, the focus has to be promoting that understanding of how to upskill yourself. Because again, another viewpoint here is when you're taking up any of these AI courses and you're a candidate and you're solving that in a record amount of time, that also is a data set. So the question you need to answer where you want to be a candidate and where you want to, reframe or refute yourself from being part of that whole ethos. Because right now anything and everything is being coded. Whatever we are putting online is being taken as a data, and that data is being coded the way the authorities or the operators want it to be utilized. And there is a lot of data set which states that the climate change has happened. So the discussion itself is futile, and those organizations, those conferences has no meaning given the fact that everything has changed. So this head and the tail kind of understanding of spinning everything, what is important here is to utilize the biomimicry in a manner with the technology whereby the tech be a tech enabler, but don't forget the underlining factors where the input data has to be real. Real input data, yes, you can solve those gene policing problems, you can solve those whatever these mutations are, because mutation is nothing but at any given point of time apoptosis is happening, and the internal system of the biochemistry is changing. So every carrier here is a candidate, or every individual who is in a facet of a body is changing, and changing at a very rapid speed. And that speed is catapulted because of the environmental factors and uh, how they are able to analyze their surroundings, because that is very important. If you're able to analyze the surroundings, you'll be in a better position to take better decisions. um, so this is what I wanted to discuss, this Harley stuff, because I can't retrieve the data set from the database. It's off right now. So thank you for watching this out. Have a great day ahead.